Hi class, today's lesson is lesson 7-10. Our purpose today is to solve percent problems involving tips, discounts, and taxes. Very much real life um, issues involving mathematics. We've got three vocabulary terms. The first is discount. A discount is an amount that is subtracted from the price of an item. We'll talk further about that in the word problems that we'll encounter. The second term is a tip, amount added to a bill for service. You'll usually see this with people that provide us services like waitresses, waiters, people at the cleaners possibly. And tax. Tax is what you'll see everywhere, particularly sales tax. Tax is the amount added to the price of an item. So the price that you see on a price tag is not the price that you'll pay. You'll have to pay some taxes more than likely. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with shortcuts. Shortcuts should motivate you somewhat because they are ways in which we can get to a percentage really quickly. Here I just want you to write the examples and not the actual explanation, so anything that looks like numbers. It says when estimating percents, use percents that you can calculate mentally. Now you can do this mentally, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can do it in writing. It says you can find 10% of a number by moving the decimal point one place to the left. So when we look at 10% of 80, all I need to do is move the decimal point, which is understood to be right here, one place to the left, and I have 8. In other words, 10% of 80 is 8. If I multiply 8 times 10, I'll get 80. In other words, 1/10 or 10% of 80 is 8. Same thing can happen with a number like 220. Here we're going to go ahead and move the decimal point over just one place value. 10% of 220 is 22. Next shortcut. It says you can find 1% of a number by moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. So what's 1% of 80 or 1/100th of 80? It is 1, 2, move that decimal point over, and it's 8/10 is 1% of 80. 1/10 of 80. Now we need to look at what's 1% of 220. Again, we move the decimal point over 2 place values, and we'll get 2 and 2/10. 1% of 220 is 2 and 2/10. Another way to look at that is 1/100th of 220 is 2 and 2/10. Last shortcut. You can find 5% of a number by finding 1/2 of 10% of the number. So the first thing we do is find 10%, and then we find 1/2 of 10%. So let's take a look at this. What is 10% of 80? In finding 5%, well, first of all, let's look at this. It says 5% of 80. And the way I'm going to go about it is I'm going to go ahead and actually think about what's 10% of 80. And I know I move the decimal place over just one place value, which equals 8, and that's proven right up here. And then we're going to take half of 8, which is 4. Half of 8 is 4. That's 5% of 80. Same thing here. 5% of 220 is actually, I'm going to take 10% of it, of 220 first. Again, I just move it over one place value up here. It ends up being 22. Since 5% is half of 10%, I'm going to take half of 22, which is 11. All right, those are the 6 problems that I need to see in your notes. Now we're going to actually find the discounts. This is example 1. It says a music store sign reads 10% off the regular price. If Nicole wants to buy a CD whose regular price is $14.99, about how much will she pay for her CD after the discount? So here is the word about, which means we're going to do a little bit of estimation as well. I'm going to go ahead and turn $14.99 into $15. Okay? and it says 10% off the regular price. Well, what is 10% of $15? I'm going to go ahead and move that decimal point over, which is leaves me with 1.5. 1.5 means essentially $1.50. Is that the answer? No, they want us to find, that's just the discount. We need to find the discounted price. How much will she pay for this in the end? So I'm going to go ahead and subtract $1.50 from $15 to see how much the end price will be on this. And my end price will be $13.50. That's finding a discount. Finding tips is very similar to this. It says Leslie's lunch bill is $13.95. She wants to leave a tip that is 15% of the bill. How much should her tip be? In this case, it says about again. So we're going to be estimating. I'm going to round $13.95 to $14. She wants to leave a tip of 15%. We need to find 15% of $14 to find out what that tip would be. In doing so, I'm going to first take 10% of 14. And 10% of 14 is moving the decimal place over 1. That's $1.40. 1.4, $1.40. And then I'm going to take 5% of 14. Because 10% plus 5% equals 15%. Now I know 5% of 14 is half of this amount, so that's actually 70 cents. Half of $1.40 is 70 cents. So what is my total percentage here? Well, this is going to be 15%, of course, and that's what I want. And now I just go ahead and add these together. And my tip should be about $2.10 in the tip. $2.10. Next, we're going to go ahead and look at sales tax. Sales tax is an additional amount of money that you have to pay above the price that you see on the price tag. Here, Mark is buying a scooter for $79.65. The sales tax rate is 6%. About how much will the total cost of the scooter be? So not only are we figuring out the tax, how much money the tax will be, but we're also adding that tax to this price in order to find the total cost of the item. Again, we see the word about, so I'm going to go ahead and round $79.65 to $80. And now 6% of $80 is what I'm going to figure out. How do I find 6% of $80? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 1% of $80. And 1% of $80, oops, something just happened there. Let me go ahead and undo what just happened there. Wow. Big long line. All right, getting back into the action here. Wow, I had a pen that was out of control. 1% of 80. Why am I doing 1% of 80? Well, I'll show you here shortly. 1% of 80, I move the decimal point over 2 place values. 1% of $80 then is 80 cents. Okay, 80 cents. Now, I know if I multiply 1% times 6, I'll get 6%, won't I? So I can multiply this by 6 as well. And I should get the total dollar amount of tax. So 6 times 80 is $4.80. How much will the total cost be? Well, I'm going to go ahead and add $80 plus about $4.80. It's going to be around $84.80, which is my total cost. Now, here is the problem that you need to complete. It says Irene is buying party supplies. The cost of her supplies is $52.75. The sales tax rate is 5%. So this is an amount that you're going to pay above this price. About, there's the word about, how much will the total cost of her party supplies be? First hint, let's go ahead and round that one before you do anything. And then you're going to find what percent of that rounded amount is the tax. Remember, looking for total cost. So once you find the tax, you need that, add that tax to the price of the item. So the price plus tax equals your total cost. And that's what they're looking for. All right, we'll see you in class.